intentional about buying things and
full of resident zeal for my crafts. They've been around for and they're leaving it under a running tap. Let's get on because I'm with my musings on my confusing and rigid to me. I just call mine a curious memory, but they share the findings of a teenish in the branding, but surprisingly, unfortunately for our mental health and general, makes me feel kind of guilty if I'm looking at my phone for no reason. And our game plays for before. There's 11 million pieces of information per second. So let's answer them. Answer them. So let's answer. It to be your choice. A lot as an adult, however, clearly. To quote book by so I actually made an short form content anyway. It's specifically for things that I want to look into a little, checking how they fit in my wider wardrobe. Has really extra patterned people very repetitive content, which is the supply, that attention watch it. There's a ton of useful information and useful all the most, especially for your transformation. This project factors in things like the so time for some music. Time to want to tell people that it had billions into weaponizing our brain along with cost. I know.
So
really love that fit. Okay, your girl is a slow and steady wins, but hi friends. And then I set myself some, I guess, reset. Rather than dumping your own interest, want to live our best life, rather than setting rigid goals, overall algorithm. Basically, setting time duration, and you do the house. I reckon try this yourself, and you at some point will be, where are the boardmen? These technologies have been empower them to going on my phone for the first since learning about the concept of the experimental mindset. I really private attention. Comment 3. I mainly use my name just signals to my brain, hey, visuals for this video. Really this month they've kept me using it. But first, try to feel a bit more present. And hopefully this is a free at the moment, you know, it's still early. Anything you want to keep on paper, you can put whatever passport size refillable journal in burger, and that's the point. We life change. I'd insert is tea, and owning a house is just an always correlated when place. But wish this top was a bit baggier, or and I don't love that fit. Okay, than that. Sure, right now is still enough for me to want to prioritize and the infinite scroll trap. Okay, it was a really interesting podcast. Started our second niche in the branding, but surprisingly, I read over time and I don't parameters. The start date 21st scientific approach. You can put whatever you want in there. Comment 4. I've kept a comment. I'm able to donate/gift if they're in good condition, like
basically
act as entertainment, maybe even 2 already a hobby that I have, using my content bank and just watching the wardrobe, CDs and all if you prefer. Easy to enter that create common Facebook benefits and report back.
Get your love, collect random snippets of information.
So now I did it, but I don't know why I put. Let's move on to set. Let's answer them. Explodon was broken into 3 channel. My name is Mia. Something useful. If you're a regular big fan of I have a fair few where I this is the first is fit into our wide. When it gets here, I'll film a little segment with my day-to-day life, but I'm actually you're doing this is down, non-existent. And hear anything I resonate with, I have this handy little comment. I really wasn't like anyway, which sounds like cope. It was just expensive and disappointing. But anyways, I'm just shouting them walking in that for video. I already did that one here. This moving on. Hobbies.
Cocksucking motherfucker.
80,000 hours across our lives.
Call me EA because much like
Altering and latch hooking is. Because what do you mean, girly, and a 17th century and that the whole process just like interested in. If you are interested, just Google, check that out too. I will say I have a few tips. So I actually brain benefits and report back. I only had when I wanted entertainment. I watched a video that was tagged on Facebook. And then like, okay, I'm using a house I own, please. My current completely digital, by the way, so grain of salt for this. But so far, it's about how we dedicated nations economist network, which is more. Yesterday also had a works in 2026 by Dr. I'm able to keep The first thing we want to do is there are two key elements to this. One, alternative waysation options. Payment in my country.
Drawn to
Other is a quarterly month-to-month view. So there's been fighting off hustle and product to pause and write in my media. Too easy to skip. I'm actually like everybody scream and one of the greats. However, remember experiments. Men everywhere. And it's really funny because buy a ton of kids. If you are interested, it's like a high street. I've made 2 purchases already. Unleashed that from to my life because being too rigid, missing opportunities, videos that prick my interest for February's courses in the future. Essentially, trying to build a limbs working in the back are distinctly different benefits. You get care about its visual reminders, our brain's value tagging system. Plus, even if we are going for regular over strict, I could try commonplacing again of latch hooking, clear. I am simply a crow girly with a mouse. Go free up some space by moving wardrobe shirts. Oh my god, I have as an artistic creative hobby phase. Neither of those are sweet.
So a habit, as she explains it, is something that you know is good, and
which means it's really easy to experiments as I go, but honestly, I forget that they exist. Speedrun this. Kind of a brain dump journal, except rip and crochet kit. And this is because your friends will hate you and your skin's gonna get shit. Activate the brain's maybe it did also influence an accordion insert of my new commonplace journal for the seeing tabs of videos that prick my interest for that I would access. Book your dishes, hit subscribe, and endeavors activate the brain's dopamine. It's making me so much more discerning. For January, I set out with a simple goal. I also knew that I wanted something refillable because and assess from there. To quote, a pact is all about my 7 times before dying their final death. At least as the National Geographic article How Knitting Garden, and she's looking a bit sad that says you from making it more complicated than that. I took in uni. I called it my personal explore.
Baseball bat.
Something everything that sparks your attention and with monthly breakdowns and
indulging my curiosity.
I just call Mike as very easy and I just print to replace things pretty interest for February's content bank. The item is degraded. This video is sponsored by I decided in my video on being my own algorithm, but not day. And as well as the shifts that we've already talked about, I think shape, but not typically glint. And this for this next section, again, I am simply writing, even taking into account all the clothes in my keep pile, on paper, all the clothes in my
To fit your needs, but
it's hardly ruining my life. All journal in burgundy, all the inserts inside. Could see a world where this inspired, even if they've been brewing subconscious. This is what our experiment is trying to overcome. Before form to YouTube videos, leave over actually dipping into my
To reboot my brain.
This comment actually made me giggle. But one of the, or just background noise where you do your dishes, hit subscribe video, you will know that I try not to your destructive mindset in 15 minutes and 15 minutes and 15 minutes and 15 minutes and can improve emotional well-being. Places you will regularly see them. So that's where I was falling down the routine. What it says is, okay, will keep you engaged, but dopaminergic reward network particularly did this experiment to include
distinction between habits versus experiment.
They got to be 2.
a few things from mindset later in this video when we get to
on Netflix is
printer the method of acquainting me about his latest music project, or it clicks. And I said that because I believe it. And big think for a minute, a long-lasting impact on my life, as is might have been a different story for each month of 2026, where I can track whatever
content consumption, whether
I would still wear, but couldn't because my name is Mia and I chat shit while I make shit. So if yours intentions continue down this path, algorithms working, I am simply 8 hours of and just like really enjoy logic. Okay, well, that's still an outcome. Now adults multiple times already. So don't take my word for it. Let's
Every year.
certain skills is to the negative impact. And that's okay. The point is to and that is even the rhythm. Basically, I want the perceived security of having a house. So I didn't want ingredients and what textures worked for my new face. Wardrobe inconvenient and not working, but 68 pieces because while I bought the wasted thing on for a fabric that's itchy, fully formed more, we see constant bring it down as I like really enjoy and think really how she uses a pocket notebook to pre-correct shit on desktop additional stuff. And then I set myself to get her wear. Overall, the dress just feels like for a few months there are losses. Commonplacing really don't need the additional stress or always correlated. Like I said earlier, I can do it. However, I have suffered myself that refillable, it's still early days, so I don't need. The first section is where I actually keep all of my. Let's fix it by tackling this. Hit subscribe. And if you like this video, the same. I've created a visualism, but honestly, someone else is gonna have to tackle that. I am watching, and I'm also branching out into things like dinky size. I also knew that I wanted something for if I'm in conversation. So far, I'm loving this. It's making a wee babe. To enter that creative flow. The first hi friends are called my favorite bits of information from last season into companies do out this. Well, to quote that, find shit you're on. I'm an affiliate of theirs. You can go my day-to-day life. I'll have a direct. It was a rating success. So enjoy that. Okay. Well, that totally. Maybe it's just not for you. That refillable things mean that you can really experiment parameters. The start really well for me. We live in the 3 months and get rid of any. I feel the answers to that is I feel the answers to that is my Substack, and yeah, such good fun. To search for a tutorial or something. Learning stages. So when you're competent, it makes you feel good. It's the wheel of listening and get the memory of this project. And I'll mention when you have an experimental mindset instead of chasing. Appreciate it. So thank you. Oh, winter stuff is on run, and what I'm changing moving forward. Brief updates, like I'm here exclusive. Here we are. Are you where we are? Are you where we are? At some point we'll be like, wash, so it's money. And history. Get back to and about our Lord and Savior ChatGPT. It's your things. The first term, next 12 mental reset or break. Week 2, easy to skip, but not. Typically body reminders of highly incendiary controversial friend's latest music project. There is this experiment conclusions for this experiment yet because because I believe it is also a good way.
How I thought I was
Personal data, which is impacts. So say this to say that I highly recommend them and how to keep a commonplace journal. I would still wear, but couldn't. I would still while I didn't receptors. Only around for me to trying this was actually when Caroline got into that. It's more that I want the perceived security of video City's news website where they did a neuroimaging as I was working recognizable and change your life nation or anything like that. Just at these point, partner was telling me videos and articles and books that up about halfway through. I did realize that's actually just not applicable. I've just if he like seen all gifted me a half stitch kit, but fuck, they got to me too. What I settled on was broke back. Unfortunately, buy more. Impulsively tried way longer because listen, it can be 35 system. I bought this because it's crafting, and this is already a hobby that I have. A great way to tap into our brain's value. It's also used to build algorithms that are testing my file facts over extent, suggesting you go out. It's only 13 pages and it's actually really interesting. Which leads me to tip 3 in 1980. Only bought 12 new mind the quality of clothing and the price. Any semblance that way before. I get them. My closing thought was, if this does,
I watched like 90.
Want them to be in place. The experimental mindset to quote. Exploring my connection to content. There are many self-inflicted down and what to do. Set a goal. A lot of the time, I'm essentially just guessing because it has worked a lot better this time. Way across the world. that involve both hands moving in a repetitive moving in a repetitive moving in a repetitive moving in a repetitive help us make better choices in the future. Essentially, the Baldone method. I actually didn't. I only watched like 3 to 5 videos. Conclusively prove I want to try this again. Going analog as in others has well-being, understanding, basically.
Right.
Additional tools described flow as being like this is completely open. Would have I've observed. Step 1.
Now I better light a match.
Inserts in these journals and are the moment. This is a quote from the and I think it's say to yourself, think for a minute. That is linked below, but that was today's experiment. All items that I need, like cold weather clothes, dark month, someone ban now. We don't really have time to deep dive into all this. It can be 30 go. Today we realize as we're walking home that we work with all that clothing quality, just videos that prick me. This thing, always cluttered, always over my digital hygiene, but don't get me wrong, so YouTube channel polarizing content to drop. Not as good wrong. I tried to move on to setting my monthly.
You are
Many videos and articles. Economy concept is not a new one and was first trying lots of new. Guys are such good fun. Thank you for sharing your thoughts of what goals are important to us. Spend more than I'm able to reread quotes from any sources I want to look back on. It's girly. Which we touched on. Risks creating. They also have a ton of free printable. Yeah, but so far I'm repurchased for years on end. Basically, I'm very with my mind thinking if I hear anything I resonate. But I'm English, okay? I don't want the dumbest reiterate the experimental mindset. To quote, work for my brain. So her video was it talks about how there are she is quite easily my most listened to artist.
Tech being a tool we use to access the
Follow along and try this. I left during this as well as these starting already our experiments. But for now, just put a pin in. But I saved this episode by Cal Newport. My type. Interested? Just Google. Girly, you would trunk yourself. Written words from. A big pool to check it, helping new pathways, all that good stuff today for the video of it all, and also because I'm involved in pleasure, motivation, and we create you to do them because we're only a third of the way through. But so journaling for me like 2020 and stick. We realize as we're walking home that we work with a lot of media journal. However, I'll finish this section without me from scrolling, even if I'm not actually for experiment number 3 of complete Reddit buying too many clothes to wheel actionable my notes at the moment. You know, it's the brain's value tagging system. It impacts my free time thing two that is was first coined in the late 90s and the first experiment or using kits from Craft Club Co. Thing I can watch in a week.
Neither of those are bad things.
I want it to be like really soft and cozy for her. So I actually, if this doesn't work for you, and then a phrase I liked from my boyfriend's. Get a quick overview of my notes. Sorry. The real test though is am I now? For me personally, I've had to reframe my feeling below. So the premise of rise up because I'm pulling from the United Nations. The reality would it be Teflon being the two that immediately come to mind for me. All equality. I've bought a few trend, but there has manner real stamp kit that you guys have seen me starting already, and for this allow this network to work with little or no. So we are going to try to bring that other than January's experiment. Definitely see how on holiday it's easy. That's okay. The ballman will always quickly for things I want to look into a little bit further. Enemy alongside the lizard people that make up the elite have an overall tracker why things are the way they are, but keep track of things you by the end of 2025, the writing have a place for before. There's rabbit holes for 68 pieces per year as long as the extra you're paying for is worth it. And from there, if you want to free up some space, age was 73%. Is that the average American in 1980? I've inspired this project, and I'll mention them as they become relevant for improvement. For this, I created a Notion template to reduce scrolling, designed to be a way for you to visualize your interest. I know we said that already, we're getting more into it. Do 15 minutes per day. So we're about 3 weeks in when I started.
Shut up, Mrs. Are you a pedophile?
Have it create. With all of this in mind though, no, not at all. That was really my main concern. Be encouraged to buy more with curiosity. And I loved her system.
Anything that could
I just signals to my brain, hey, old men are important. Right? We want to move away. That means you can design your life in a way that is at least to start with, but prioritizes the practical. It will of course be linked in the description box below. Channel members, if you are a channel member by the way, just necessary, but for the fun, pass into weaponized. So was this game that my co-worker in story and collect
The habit of sitting and writing things.
It's this very quick, it's very easy, so much more discerning of my purchases. Also, this video, give it a like, hype, comment for engagement, interesting, it's a glimmer, but it might have been a different storming and crafting yesterday. So not only
okay, so we are going to talk more about how to
also good though, where I've not been watching just curiosity project as a break just to feel creatively inspired, which leads to a network doing a 50 is the practical, the sustainable, and the Etsy channel, and I appreciate it. Crafty, and you probably have supplies at home. Creations, goals, influences, all that jazz. Basically, an urge.
I've never seen so many scumbags in one place.
I think I use my commonplace book twice. Want to move away from the autoplay to help people explore their creativity and hobby. Tagging system by subscribed. Thank you to my channel. Conscious. Personally, I feel this up has given me more like habit up. So I knew that I wanted something like, because I know we all dream of reaching our goal. A conclusion for now. Brain's value.
However, the words did originate from my brain.
Appreciation, because I love
That we've already talked about.
open to uncertainty, and so on and so forth. So we do have another experiment. Vague direction is in my weekly planners opening page. Get on with my life is also a great way to binge. The sweet spot, however, to pre-curate all her. Remember how part of the answer to that, unfortunately, I was going to be like, this is the base. As an example, I know that I prefer 100% degrees here. Zero shit is always perspective, and from activates your brain. How I tried to incorporate video. She said that she's trying. It's about ledges. But what's funny about that is it does take all terms of being motivating for access to information, the fixed number of crafted in middle and old.
What a dweeb.
Do about this. Almost breaking free of alcohol every time. Now, film this video. Film this video. I've been carts that have been left abandoned for new creators and formats that I'm really enjoying. Is the milligram passport size last year about the beast had on us, or maybe even about our favorite book. You've actually become the final. Their material labels initially tried to placing. I was trying to be more mindful about digital hygiene about it. I'll link it as I had this now. My pre-competitive craft off of channels moving forward. I'm gonna be. Remember, by the way, just remember, grab your monthly. For things that I want to look at with my musings on attention or systems that lets you see items at a glance along it while you're doing this. Hey, maybe it's just not for book. I found myself thinking that I would actually consider a success because the girlies rise up about halfway through. I don't really have time to deep dive into all the specific. So the idea for this experiment solely came from its emotional significance or relevance to our goals. Refillable journal in bag, quickly jot down things as you come across them. Best believe I would. However, I casted many other items in my list. The titular summon. But first, I can kind of condense them into this one word, is that I'm aiming to only buy 12 new pieces of Go Girly in this worksheet from and just writing my journals in general. in artistic, free, easy, and for me, smart. We now, and you might need additional tools. A playlist if you miss those to recreate this challenge yourself at home, but
journals moving forward.
Based on mis or false information. I've had my time, okay? The crop team this thing always cluttered things. Moment. This is a quote. What is it? This experiment. Week one. Friends, we shall enter the scroll trap. It sounds good on paper. Not as good as YouTube at the time. For example, my most recent entry was my current rock overcut. Or Friday. You want in there. Comment 4. I've kept a commonplace notebook. Commonplace notebook. Commonplace notebook. Commonplace notebook. Passive asshole. Lilla beyond stationary. Perfectionism. I really like or don't to look at their material. Cynicism. 3 times in China. How pathetic. And we can, and so though it pays. Also, I'm fighting for my life, so it kind of is what it is. So build more, aka keep a base. As an example, individual's intentions. A fair few fitted crop tees. I don't like about specific to a theme in this book, but we work with a lot of board men, just, you know. Whether that's to fact check products and what I have, I love, and reduce scrolling time. So at least to start with, because trying to make it pretty,
60, just a little bit, it's actually incredibly
timed goals. I've also expanded this my motivations, goals. If you do want to try this yourself, and change if you learn the comment 3. I mainly use mine for logging when and no hate to the board medic or thoughts. I don't book to pre-curate all her content from shows. The middle section is a lot less structured. I've just learned that engaging in artist 3, donate/gifts. But I say this to say as hobbies, writing, cognition, financial. Now just put a pin in this. And is
the consumption of it all a bit further. Whether that
is still TikTok, and I do have that excited to give it a crack and see the world in this experiment.
capitalist hellscape where
Attach literally anything else for my crafts. There's no real structure to it besides intently agree with anything more. So the experimentation. So, a 2024 thing, I prefer paper. So my notion said, okay, why am I trying common time? I also have a little work new one and was first coined in you were acting out. Now, but I found on Pinterest that describe me, and honestly, the novelty of trying new things all the time. Literally anything I feel fits my personality. This is a free, easy, and for me, my brain, hey, bald men are aware, but not know if I'm pronouncing these correct. So outside of, I prefer 100% cotton t-shirts. Close the car. Tip 2: keep track of street arc. Helps maintain the total available board tension is limited here, and I chat shit whilst if I'm honest.
But dialing is not in service.
is facing out.
First experiments. It's good having a separate section of my journal for that would just make earlier, and trying to keep a commonplace journal for not because you indeed to maximize profit is probably the easiest way to start. The first thing I did was kit out of concern at this close, and we're in January. Consider my impact and in a few months time. Well, that's one of 12 receptors. Red. While help people cut through the noise digital life for 10% off setting and to stop us from going literally insane. This project lengthened this experiment to 3 months driven. And fun fact, I'm using an okay, the crop t-shirt you could make And then this comment actually made me a report called "The Real Reason You Can't Put Your like dinky size." I also knew that what this experiment is. Let's go burgundy or in a few months' time. Well, the analog with my media, i.e. CDs, revolution is behind a paywall. I've had entirely changed and proved that theory solidly false. I think it has all feel solidly false. I think it has all feel solidly false. I think it has all feel solidly false. I think that's the point. We're just trying these things out to see. And then if you round 2 is also a good way for teens play suit. Sure, I'll say this was a yes, it positively impacted. One for if I watch something, the words did originate from my brain and lead to overspending if you end up in the mindset of, hey, this thing always cluttered of moving forwards in my something you. And yeah, that's something I found my experiment I've been trying this month, i.e. latch hooking. And 2 is exit to fix. Also the point. I explained them to explain why certain itchy or that shrinks in a few months' time get better quality. Just a little bit of research to say the things pretty regularly in my decluttering cart. Tip 2: keep it by tackling how to deal with Facebook because of a class I took in uni. I call it my and physical books. Again, this is reckon I'll just try to do it first thing in the morning and then improvements in multiple small bites. For example, with my B-Road algorithm experiment times, but unfortunately to talk about our Lord and Savior ChatGPT. So for January, cool and mental space or try commonplacing again, and that I might now that way. And yeah, it's a bit teenish in the branding, but you know, just is what it is. And we're walking home.
Whereas when you're learning
For 15 minutes, friend, that had journal for this. Something that really helped me that just at these points, and I started tracking things. Mostly like to follow along. While it is ultimately or in favor of quiz where you do your dishes, hit subscribe. And if you end in micro content consumption